Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting interview by Financial Insight. My name is Mwelwa and I'm currently on the sidelines on day 2 of Zim-Zam. Zim-Zam is an annual event hosted by EnergyNet, and I'm with one of our good friends from Standard Bank Group who's going to tell me a bit about her panel discussion as well as how she's found the event so far. Rentia, welcome to the Financial Insight Show again.
Thank you, and thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Now, Rentia, on day 1, you were on a high-level panel discussion talking very critical issues. Are you able to just share with us what what your position was from a bank's perspective, and how you found some of the responses to some of the key questions that came, to other members of your panel discussion?
Yeah, thanks. I think the objective of the panel was to start and setting the scene in terms of why are we here, what are we talking about, what have we seen in the last few years changing, how do we see the policy enabling environment shifting, and have we actually seen more private sector involvement? And I think to that end, Standard Bank is the best to talk to. I was joined by some of the utilities in the region as well as the regulator, and I think the key message was how do we as a bank support not only our clients but work with government, work with private sector, and have the ability to actually fast track some of these opportunities. And I think the key message I had was my global portfolio actually doubled in the last 3 years, and that is, yes, first of all, great momentum out of South Africa, but significant growth, specifically in Zambia, and to a certain extent also seeing that coming through in our pipeline in Zimbabwe, which is for me why Zim-Zam creates a good opportunity to have meaningful conversations with all our partners across private sector and public sector.
And what's obviously quite interesting, you've alluded to that point where Zim-Zam has created this sort of like investor meets a developer. From a bank perspective, how important is it to actually participate now? And are you convinced, especially with the sort of growth that you're seeing, and maybe some of the conversations that you're having in terms of prospective projects that might come online? How does that excite you?
Yeah, it's exciting from the perspective that you cannot do projects if you're not visible and if you're not on the ground. And I think that's where Standard Bank is by far leading the sector in terms of its in-country presence and the ability for us to show actually that we've achieved meaningful results. If you just look at what we've achieved in the last 12 to 18 months in Zambia in terms of real deals, executing, closing, and getting to operational efficiency. I mean, we got projects actually delivering electrons into the grid. And I think to that extent, to have a gathering, meet up with those clients and with prospective clients, showing them that it can be done. And for me, it's always important to lead with real examples. And the times are gone where we have to say, it's too difficult, it takes too long. We got meaningful proof now that we can do this. And I think to that end, having these discussions, robust engagements, and have the ability to discuss opportunities that's already in the pipeline and how do we move them forward, absolutely important.
Right. Now, as we go into 2026, with what you've experienced this year alone and the growth that the bank has experienced, what do you see 2026 looking like from a bank perspective, and what are, especially for energy in terms of the region, what will you be pursuing?
I think the important point is to understand the impact of enabling policies, the ability of private sector to see the growth and step in. So to that end, I think it's definitely opportunities on the back of open access, regional integration, and then very important is transmission development. So those 3 objectives is absolutely at the core of our sector focus. So first of all, how do we execute on the pipeline we developed on the back of open access? And that is prioritizing the projects, prioritizing the clients, and ensure that there's appropriate risk allocation. Now, in terms of risk appetite, Standard Bank, Stanbic, we are there, we're excited. We believe we got the right clients, we believe we got internal stakeholder support. However, it's a lot. We need partners to do that. And by partners, it's not only the sponsors, but also funding partners. And I think that's why we are very open to work with especially DFIs. I think it's a key theme, where we need to find better and more efficient pockets of finance structures, blended finance, and have the ability to work with our partners to execute. I think the second point around just driving regional integration, and that comes back to how do you bank projects across regional opportunities.
Correct.
And it's not
Correct.
only about SAPP, it's also how do you support transmission projects in enabling some of those projects to be more efficient and have the ability to link into the East Africa power pool. So it's important for us to identify those key opportunities and to be able to fund them so that we could fast track and unlock some of the pipeline that we're currently building up.
Absolutely. Rentia, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So you've heard for yourself, we've been speaking to Rentia from Standard Bank Group. So stay tuned for more insights as we continue to speak to members of the Standard Bank team.